In this video, we're going to be focusing on the second interpersonal effectiveness skill, or that second building block. So on top of the fast skills, which we're focusing on self-esteem, the second skill is focusing on active listening. So actively hearing, listening, and participating in the conversations that we're having with people. So the very first skill is called Be Gentle. So when we talk about being gentle, we talk about being nice and being respectful. We have some conversations with clients around what does it feel like when you're in a conversation with someone and you're not nice to them. Probably doesn't feel very good. Afterwards, we might feel guilty. We might be ashamed of our behavior. And when we're not nice to someone else and we have that experience, we point out how that impacts that very first building block. So coming back to eroding that self-respect. It doesn't feel good to make fun of somebody or to be rude to somebody. So we want to stress the importance of being gentle with somebody. So no verbal or physical attacks, no hitting, those kinds of things, no name calling, swearing. When we have a conversation with clients, we talk about how those things actually just create defensiveness in somebody rather than improving the conversation to move forward. The second skill that we focus on in GIVE is act interested. So acting interested, it would be really important that we are listening to someone, that we appear interested in the conversation or what they have to say. We're listening to them. We're not in our heads focusing on our rebuttal or what we're going to say next, but we're really just present in the moment, listening to what they have to say. So really focusing on things like our eye contact, head nods, those kinds of things to show the person that we're hearing what they have to say and that we are listening to them. One of the things that we talk about when we talk about acting interested is that it doesn't mean we have to agree with what the person is saying. All we're simply trying to do is respect what it is that they have to say and show that that's what's happening. We're hearing you, I'm listening to what's happening, it's important to me what you're saying. We don't have to agree, but I want you to know I'm at least listening to you. The third skill is validate. And validation is really important because that's how the other person is going to know that we do care about what they have to say. So we talk about doing this with words as well as actions. So just showing that we understand, maybe we're giving them some verbal or nonverbal cues or verbal cues to let them know that we are hearing what they have to say. I can appreciate what you have to say. And again, that reminder that I don't have to agree, but I certainly need to be respectful. And we do touch on again and try to connect it back to that original fast skill around if I'm validating and I'm just agreeing for the sake of agreeing, that might erode that self-respect because maybe it goes against my values. So again, we don't have to compromise our values to be able to validate what somebody else is experiencing. So it can be helpful to validate the other person's emotions, their thoughts around the particular interaction or conversation. So things like saying, I realize that this is hard for you, or I see that you're busy and maybe this isn't the best time to have this conversation, depending on what the conversation is that we're talking about. We also suggest that in this moment, so that we can be paying attention to someone else, we might choose to do this in a private place versus a public place. Again, that just allows for us to have our full attention on the task at hand, and that is to be able to listen actively to what the other person has to say. The very last piece to give is using an easy manner. So using an easy manner, we might choose to use a little bit of humor. We definitely talk with clients around the appropriateness of using humor. Is this the right time to slide in a little bit of humor? We also talk about the importance of humor, just allowing the conversation to be a little bit lighter, to not feel so heavy, to allow each person in the conversation to maybe take a little bit of a breath. We also talk about smiling, those kinds of things. So again, really focusing on the nonverbal cues. Are we paying attention? Are we smiling? Are we nodding? And just really showing that we're actively listening and we are interested. So one of the things we also talk about is checking our attitude at the door. So not going in or trying not to go into the conversation with any judgments or expectations, but the only expectation is that we're going to be in the moment and actively listen to the other person.